Hi class, in this video I'm going to talk about editing CSS in WordPress. So I'm going to show you how to find and change the CSS that's attached to your WordPress site. So you learned from Codecademy this week about CSS, and you learned about stylesheet.css, that external style sheet where you can place all of your CSS and it will be applied to the HTML of your site. And WordPress is no different. WordPress has the same system. In fact, WordPress has a stylesheet.css attached to whatever theme you put on your site. So regardless of what theme you choose, there's going to be a stylesheet.css for that theme. Let's take a look. So I'm logged in to an installation of the 2014 theme. Here it is. And I'm going to start changing some of the CSS. So first I need to find that style sheet. In WordPress, to find the style sheet, you're going to go to Appearance, Editor, and you'll have access to all of the PHP files and CSS files that make up your site. The style sheet is always at the very bottom. So if I scroll down to the bottom of my list, you'll see I have a style.css and I have an rtl.css. Style sheet is automatically selected when I click on the editor button under Appearance. So I'm already looking at the style sheet. So as I scroll down, you'll see it's actually really well organized in this theme. Not all themes have this nice table of contents, but this theme does. And so we can see the CSS based on what it's being applied to. So here's the CSS for the basic structure, for the header, for the navigation, for the content, and that's broken down. So if I want to change the CSS of the post thumbnail, I can just press Command F and search for 6.1 and find that further down in the code. There it is on my style sheet, post thumbnail. So these are all of these selectors and classes applied to post thumbnails. I can edit them here, but I probably don't want to. The stylesheet.css comes with a theme. So whenever you change themes, you're getting a new style sheet that is applied to that new theme. It also means that when you update themes, you get a new style sheet that comes with it. So if you make a lot of changes here in the style sheet and then you update your theme later, all of your changes will go away because this old style sheet will be replaced with the new updated one and it won't have your specific changes in it. So what we want to do instead is use an override style sheet, a custom style sheet that's going to override this style sheet, and it won't get updated when the theme gets updated. So any changes that we make will remain if we ever have to update or change the theme. So a lot of themes have a custom.css file here under styles. This theme does not. So we're going to have to add one, and we're going to add one by adding a plugin. So I'm going to go to Plugins, Add New, and I'm going to search for Custom CSS. And I'm going to install this one, WP Add Custom CSS. And what this is going to do after I activate it is it's going to add over here on my navigation bar a section where I can add custom CSS. So I'm going to click on it and show you what that looks like. So this is just another style sheet that's going to override the one that came with the theme. So whatever CSS rules I write in here are going to be executed on the site over top of or instead of the ones that came with the theme. So if I need to change the CSS, I want to put a copy of the CSS here and change it here. So let me show you an example of what this looks like. I can go into Appearance Editor and I can find a style, a rule that I want to change. So maybe for links, I don't want this color, I want a different color. I'm going to find it in the style sheet and I'm going to go to Add Custom CSS. I'm going to paste it and I'm going to make my changes in here. So now I'm changing links to this orange color, FF9900. There it is. And now it's orange. Typically it would be green because the theme is set to have green links, but I've changed it in the custom CSS so that it's orange. So all of my links are going to be orange. Now I would have to get the rule for the rollover and change that as well because I don't want that to be green. I could just do that as my next step. So I can grab things out of that style sheet and paste them into custom CSS and make changes. But for a lot of the stuff, you're not really going to know what to grab. For example, if I want to change this search bar, how do I know what that is? What's the name of that class? I don't know. And I could kind of go through and guess and check in the style sheet, but that's going to be really time consuming. So I'm going to use Chrome, and I'm going to use some as my browser, and I'm going to use some developer tools that come with Chrome. So as long as I'm using the Chrome browser, I can right click on an element of my site and click Inspect Element. And this is going to pull up the developer tools. And so what you're seeing down here is on the left, this should look really familiar to you. This is the HTML that makes the site, that belongs to this page of the site. And on the right, we have our styles from our style sheet. So here's how I'm going to use this. I right-clicked on the thing I want to know more about, and you can see that it's highlighted here in the HTML. Now, you don't always get the thing you're trying to click. Sometimes if you right-click on something, the developer tools will show you something that's nested further in it or something that's next to it. It's not always exact. So what I can do is I can click through or use my arrow keys to scroll through these different divs and HTML elements, and the browser will show me which one I'm on. It'll be highlighted in the developer tools, but it also will be highlighted here on the site. So once I have that search selected, I can come over to my styles and I'll see all of the CSS that's being applied to this particular element. And we can see right here, there's that green color. Search toggle is the name here, and there's that green. Now I can try a new color by typing it in here just right in the browser, and I can see what this would look like if it was a different color. So it's almost like I'm changing the CSS right here. You know, I can make it wider if I want it. You know, I can change all of these things. If I don't want something, I can uncheck it. And if I don't know what some of these things do, I would suggest that you just uncheck it and see what changes. So if you don't know what text align center is, click it and you'll see, oh, it's centering the icon. I do want the icon to be centered, so I'll turn it back on. Unfortunately, however, when you refresh your page, all of the CSS that you just changed disappears. This is not a permanent fix. These are just tools for understanding what part of your site is named what and, you know, where it is in the HTML. So what I want to do if I actually want to make this change permanent is change it here. And I can actually just copy and paste this into my custom style sheet. So I can copy this entire style and paste it into my custom style sheet. And if I hit save and refresh my page, then you'll see that the change is now permanent and my search bar is now orange. Now, some of these things are going to be hard to discover. For example, this section gives me a lot of trouble. When I go to inspect element, it's still pretty difficult to understand what I'm clicked on. Here, I'm clicked on a menu item. You can see there's no color applied to it. This selection thing here means this, you know, what you see when you're selecting. So I can change that. But it's like I'm just having trouble grabbing this and kind of figuring out what it is. So I have to root around in here a little bit and keep guessing and checking. I'm going to make this larger so you can see it better. Okay, is it primary menu? Let's see, do we have green applied there? No. Is it primary navigation? No. Is it the search toggle? No, we just did that. Is it the site title? No, that's this. So sometimes there's going to be things that are difficult to find. So if there's something on here that's very difficult to find, I'm using the developer tools and I just can't seem to find the thing I'm trying to change, that's when you want to go back to your style sheet in WordPress. So I'm going to go to Appearance Editor. And you might have to root around in there a little bit. So I might have to look around in here and see if I can sort of find that navigation. So 5.0, there it is, and see if I can kind of figure out which of these things is that thing that I'm looking for up here in the navigation. And another strategy is to kind of find an attribute of the thing you're trying to change and see if you can find this in the style sheet. So I don't really know what this green block would be called, but if I look in my developer tools, I'll see that I can see what that color green is. I can see the hex code for it. So I'm going to copy that hex code. I'm going to come into my style sheet and I'm going to search for it. So now I can see out of these dozens and dozens, if not hundreds of rules of CSS, I've narrowed my options down to 18 that use this green color. So one of these 18 things is what I'm trying to change, is this rollover in green. So now I can sort of scroll through here and look at the names of these rules and try to sort of figure out which of these things is a good candidate for the thing I'm trying to change. At the end of the day, if you get super stuck, one thing you could do is change all of these 18 styles so that there's no green on your site at all and it's all the colors that you want. And that would just be a matter of copying and pasting these into your custom CSS. In fact, you might open another tab and have your style sheet in one tab and your custom CSS in the other tab so you can easily copy and paste. So with this method, you should be able to change pretty much anything you want about this theme or any theme, and your CSS you've put here in your custom CSS is going to override what came with the theme. So for homework, what you're going to do is take the 2014 theme, just like I have, and make changes to it. So I have a list of changes I want you to make. You can see that I've gone from this to this. So I have my own colors, I've increased the font size, I've changed headers so that they have a color, I changed the selector, I changed the typeface to a Google font, and I'm able to make quite a few changes here, and I really could make this even more intense. For example, instead of having a color here, I could have you can put an image in, you could put a texture, you could make this look like crumpled paper or something like that. And with these CSS tools, it's really easy to take a basic theme and make it really personal to you and your brand. So I'm going to have you do something like this, where you edit the CSS so that the 2014 theme is no longer black, white, and green, but rather a set of colors that you've chosen. Before I let you go, I just want to talk a little bit about colors. You have to change the colors here. How are you going to do that? Well, I suggest going to a site like colorlovers.com because it features color palettes, and the color palettes will give you the hex codes that you need for your CSS. So if you're interested in having a blue color scheme, you can just search for blue and scroll through the blue palettes that pop up until you find one that is appropriate to you. This one seems like it'll work really well because if we look at the theme, we need a dark area, we need some light areas. This could be great for our sidebar, this could be good for headlines, this could be good for links. So I'm going to click on it, and the hex codes are right here. I can just copy and paste these hex codes into my CSS. I'm going to create one more video for this week on how to use Google Fonts. I'm going to make it a separate video so that this video is not too long, but this video and the Google Fonts video should be everything that you need to get started on your homework. If you have any questions, if you get stuck, feel free to use that Google Groups to ask your classmates for help.